Hello, fans, and welcome to this episode of Nerd Words.
We've got our good friend Scott Mardis with us.
Now, we're here today to talk about being a game master, and specifically, Scott, very, very steeped in several games, but particularly White Wolf games and running vampire campaigns, running hunter campaigns. Patrick's ran them before too, and talking just a little bit about those and the differences in the two, and how as a GM you've got to tailor your adventures to each system, because Hunter, as you described, is really different.
Yeah, it's really hard to actually plan your monsters in that, because your monsters, if they're too powerful, you will kill your characters.
Whereas in Vampire,
Whereas in Vampire,
it's really hard to kill
a vampire unless you try to kill one. But you really gotta watch what you do with your monsters in the Hunter, because you are human, and you have little things that help, but they don't help it to the point where it won't kill you.
Whereas in Vampire, the trick is you've got to not let the characters just run off track so bad that you wind up in Tijuana with Burt Reynolds.
Right, you chasing them down, basically.
That's honestly my goal generally in playing in the games. I've not played Hunter. I missed his last Hunter campaign. Hopefully when he runs again, and I believe he's going to, I'll get in on that. And but as a vampire, I can be a wild player character. I mean, I can get away with taking risks. My vampire character, he's quite tough. You can take a beating as a vampire. You can fight monsters tooth and nail. And if you've RPG'd before, I guess this, it's like having a level 1 character in Dungeons and Dragons. You can't send them up against a dragon or something like that. You have to tailor your adventure specifically for them, or they'll die as well. But I don't know, in Hunter, you're always just going to be a human. You're never going to be able to compete, no matter how many levels or how much you raise your...
You can actually get abilities that actually help you along the way, but they don't help you to the point where you're not invincible like you are.
In fact, still the same. You really want to compete with a vampire, you've got to throw a whole lot of lead in it.
Yeah.
And hope it doesn't soak it.
Yes. That's the whole thing about it. Really, truly, the only way to kill a vampire in the Hunter or in Vampire is to burn them, basically, or sunlight, or snake. You can snake them; it doesn't kill them, but it just incapacitates them.
Yeah. Like I said, both are very fun games to play. It's a really good system. I like the urban systems. I mean, I enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. I have for years. But as we talked about the Dresden Files RPG and its urban setting, Vampire and Hunter, they have an urban, modern feel to them. I mean, I don't know where your Hunter campaign was set.
It was for here.
So you can
was
set
an
it.
also area. I just
set it
changed a couple
locally.
things locally.
Set it in East Tennessee. I mean, you deal with modern realities, cars, guns.
Right, and they've got it set up where you can have vampire in different settings. Like they've got Dark Ages. Of course, they've got the werewolf game,
Right.
which I've never played, but I hear is really fun.
It is really
And they've got a Wild West setting for
Yes.
it.
Yes. It's really good. Werewolf is, you're basically a werewolf. It's really hard to die in werewolf, because unless you get shot with silver bullets, that's the only thing that'll kill you.
And this is actually one of the games where it's still pretty story driven.
Yes.
There's not a ton of combat in Vampire.
More,
Now in
more
Hunter,
intrigue and basically backbiting.
Hunter, there's combat, but there's still a lot more detective work.
Role playing.
Whereas in Werewolf, that's your game for your brawlers.
Yeah. And it can be story driven also.
Oh yeah.
We had a good story going there a while with Donnie Perry, one of our good friends he was running. We had a good thing going with him, and it was a really good campaign, but it was, basically come down to it at the end. It was charge the castle and defeat the enemy, basically.
Yeah,
that's basically what it comes down to.
That's what many are. I know as a GM, I don't know how much adjustment I say you had to make. Because you can't really run some humans into a coven of vampires and storm the castle and that thing, but you still manage to tell an interesting story.
Right.
That's what really counts.
The hunters, it's really hard because one vampire that's not really strong at all, you can take a 13th generation vampire and you can wipe out an entire party of 6 or 7 people, no problem.
For those who
In 2 turns.
don't play, vampire, haven't played, for reference to 13th generation, that's a newly made vampire. I mean,
It's basically like level 1 in D&D.
The further back your generations go, the more powerful your vampire is. And you get, some 5th, 6th level, or 5th, 6th generation vampires, they're just almost
They're
gods
gods.
walking the
Yeah,
earth at
basically.
that point. I mean, that's Dracula and people like that.
Yeah.
And the way the system is built too, it's just, you can really customize your character.
Oh, yeah.
You can really make your character, because you build it with points. And then when you get experience points in this, you're not using it to level your character up. You're banking them until you can buy more points onto your character.
Right, to do different things.
And that's one of the things I like about this system.
Every game master runs their game differently. I mean, some will just kill you off if you make that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Some try to keep the party alive as best they can. And some use a blend. And if your character, I guess, is doing something really stupid, I say mine often do, I would probably die in a hunter game. I'm just not going to lie, because I'm generally prone to doing something pretty dumb most of the time. But unless I'm playing a more serious character, which is not common for me, but I will occasionally. But I just enjoy playing fun characters, and I like the vampire's ability, and I say much like Dresden, to create an entire story for your character and incorporate that into the tale really well.
Yeah.
And we played. There have been a lot of versions of vampire.
Yeah.
So the one I prefer, the one that I've played, all the stuff I've read, the Masquerade.
The second edition.
Is it second edition?
Second edition.
And Hunter, I don't know, did they make many editions of
No,
it? Or
it's still the same exact one that we first made.
that's one thing about White Wolf games, except for Vampire and Werewolf. A lot of their games just sort of stayed in that one edition.
Yeah. They really had to change Vampire a lot because, after they did the book series and they did the big Gehenna coming, and it just, you really can't go any farther with the story of vampires after Gehenna because
Right.
that's their coming,
The apocalypse.
the apocalypse, basically.
It's like I say, it's really fun to do if interested on RPG and haven't tried the Vampire Universe. You can usually pick up the books, really pretty reasonably priced at McKay's in the
Yeah,
area.
you can get them at McKay's. Last time me and Pat were over there, they actually had.
Yeah, they actually had more White Wolf stuff.
They actually had Deathlands there too, actually.
Yeah.
They had a copy of it.
You can find the PDFs and things like that, but it's easier to build characters to me if you have the actual book. I mean, a PDF's okay if that's all you have.
For writing purposes, a PDF, if you're like writing adventures, a PDF's fine to scroll through. But for actual playing the game purposes, I prefer to have the book in
Yeah.
front.
The book is way better.
So it's reasonably priced. A very fun game. It's pretty tough to beat.
Yeah. And one thing that I like about it the best is that no matter what backstory you have in your background of your character, you can work it into every game of
Yeah.
every character.
Well, it's like our friend Keenan did a game. It's called From Cradle to Gehenna. We started out in the Dark Ages, and we've not progressed anymore. But it's like our characters will hibernate for so long,
Yeah.
and then wake up in a later time. So,
Well, I think that's about the time limit we got for this video, but we'll see you on the next Nerd Wars.